Be rocking over there. There we go, live there. All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Thomas. Invite. Let's see. All right. So we are going to be live over on YouTube as well. And so if Thomas joins me, you'll be able to hear him um, through the audio. But if he doesn't join, then all right, here he is now. So you'll be able to hear him, and then if he decides that he doesn't want to be on live, or he's got to get off of this live on TikTok, you can go over to the YouTube channel, and for me, you can find it at Sean Dustin 1 on YouTube. And just go over there and you can join the conversation. You can join in the chat, the live chat that's going on. That you can ask questions, you can weigh in, you can chime in, you can do all that stuff over there. So, good morning, Thomas. Can't hear you. You're muted. Nope. Still can't hear you.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. I got all same here. I got all kinds of platforms going, so I had to figure out where I was muted at.
So good morning, man. How was your week?
Man, it was a blessed week and a hectic week. It was a roller coaster, I guess. How was your week?
Well, I got to work a full week, which was nice. And then I'm also my work week isn't over. I'll be working tonight and from 6 to 2 in the morning, and then Sunday 6 to 2. And I usually don't work the weekends, but I couldn't pass this up. It's double time both days, so it's like working two days for 4.
Okay, get your money.
Yep. So I'm like, all right, I can do that, and then I'm off on Monday, so I can't complain. I need to get an episode out on the podcast. I think I got episode 196, so 197 should be coming out. I got to figure out which one I want to drop. It's hard to create content and run a podcast and do all the producing and everything else that you got to do for this, and work a full-time job that requires 3 hours of commute every day. So sometimes, most of the time, I'm gonna be honest, most of the time the couch wins. The couch and the bong win. Especially if that's the first thing I do when I walk through the door. Fuck, all bets are off. It's done now.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of my issue too, right? Is I get really stressed out or overwhelmed with what's going on, and and I kind of just block a lot of it out. You know what I mean? And I'll get high and just block it out, and I procrastinate a lot.
I want to get high, so
And I got high.
high.
Then I got high.
And sometimes people want to say that that's a bad thing. But you know what? If you know the other me that's not high, you would be like, get that dude some weed, because he's a straight asshole.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know, man. I'm not. I like being in that space. It helps alleviate the suffering of life. And
well, it definitely helps alleviate my suffering of life.
And with that, what I'm consuming this morning, so this is Elevated Coffee Talk, and I did get elevated with some I got a new strain. It's called what the fuck is it? Cereal milk. and it's a cross between cookies and cherry pie. And when I put my nose in the little jar, oh my god, it smells just like cherry pie. It's
Mm,
crazy how these terpenes can do that with this stuff. But I'm also some of the things that I make is this is uh coconut oil that's infused with THC. I put that in my coffee in the mornings on Saturday, and in about an hour from now, I'm gonna be feeling really good.
hell yeah, man. We all should be feeling good. It's Saturday. Got a lot of crazy things going on, man. I watched that TikTok stuff. Did you happen to catch any of that? The CEO?
I did, man. You know what? First of all, they didn't give that dude enough time to
To
or they
breathe.
yeah, they just kept drilling him and drilling him and drilling him, and they were super rude to this dude, man. And they did the same thing to Matt Taibbi when he went and about the Twitter file stuff.
Hmm.
They did the same thing to him. You know what I mean? He's an award-winning journalist. Yeah, so he doesn't work for, the New York Post, or he doesn't, work for one of these legacy media companies, but this dude's an award-winning journalist, and they referred to him as so-called journalist. You know what I mean? They do these little slights that make most people, that are out there consuming, that mainstream media coverage, they and to try to, I don't know, man, slight these people, and it's like so not cool. And then they treat him hella disrespectfully. It's like, dude, would you what like they're so hostile.
Hmm. Well, so on my Thursday show, I spent an hour, talking about it because that's the day that the TikTok thing was. And it really disgruntled me, man. It frustrated me to sit here and watch these officials do exactly what it was that you were saying. But to your point, they didn't do Zuckerberg like that, right? And kind of what I saw, knowing the government the way that I know these disgusting people, is it was a public show, 100%. And not only did they put on display their own ignorance, even down to how Wi-Fi works, right? And then the one representative, in my opinion, completely exposed himself when he sat here and talked about every time he goes on this TikTok, all that comes up is drag queens and homosexuals and all kinds of stuff. And everybody in the room's quiet, like, sir, that's what you're searching. That's the only reason why the algorithm is showing you this stuff, because that's what you're searching.
Uh,
You know what I mean? But so not only was this put on display, right? Not
oh,
only
it's
was this put
funny.
on display, but it was the fact that they did not want the CEO to say too much. This is why they were suppressing him and putting on this public display as to, we're here for American rights, but we don't want you to say too much because you got a lot of knowledge in you about what's really going on, and we don't want you to say too much. So we're just going to let you say a little bit, and we're going to cut you off, overtalk you, and move on.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's part of what they do, and that's a great point that you made because I never even thought about that. How they treated Zuckerberg and how they were just, it was like this, white man privilege. You know what I mean? It's like we respect you, but when it comes to they have that cozy relationship, right? And it doesn't have anything to do with white man. I'm just fucking around on that.
Yeah,
But I mean, they have a cozy relationship with the government.
right.
Facebook does also. What's the other one that does? YouTube, um,
Google.
Google. Yeah, I mean, all of
Well,
these.
Google, YouTube is Google, but that's exactly it. Is that, yeah? It has nothing to do with race, and we're just joking about that stuff. But in that aspect, what it is, in my opinion, Sean, this whole thing, people keep saying it's about the money, Silicon Valley. Yeah, sure, money's important in that aspect, but what's more important is security and control, right? And they don't have that with TikTok. This is the whole problem. And this is what I broke down in my video was, if you remember Facebook, when Facebook first came out and you could go live on Facebook, people were going to prison for that, right? They were going
Were
on
they?
there. They were going live. They were showing their guns on Facebook. You had gangs on there showing what they had. You had people doing drugs on there, and the police were going and arresting these people and charging them. Yes, sir.
Look at that.
Right. So
Good Cali weed.
good Cali weed. So with TikTok, they cannot do that because they don't have a relationship with the CIA and our government and such, right? Our government does not have access to their user data. And if anybody was listening to the TikTok trial, you would have heard them ask that. They asked specifically what happens, because they want these people to turn their data collection services over to the government in a sense. And the man is like, okay, we'll do that, looking forward, blah, blah, blah. But the question is what about the old users' data? What are you doing with the old users' data? The point of this is that when you go live, say we go live right now and we're doing illegal activity, the police cannot track us. They don't know who we are. We could have fake accounts. They can't come get us because they don't have that connection with TikTok like Facebook and Google and them does. Right? So let's put this into perspective now. So now you have cops that go live all the time and they have these millions of followers. You know, somewhere in there, there's threats being made to these cops and they can't track these people down. And that they feel is the quote unquote security risk. Who are these people? We can't go get them. See, Facebook, if you do that on Facebook Live, they're coming to get you. I promise you. If you make any threats towards the president, the government, officials, they're coming to get you instantly. But TikTok, they can't do that. And that's where the fear sits. And that's what this whole thing is about, in my opinion.
I think that's one leg of it. You know, I think it's all encompassed. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of different reasons why. You know, control is the main one, though. You know, if they can't control what you're doing, they can't see what you're doing. Your phones, they're doing a great job at listening to you because they're feeding you advertising based off of the data that you're getting from these companies that you never really gave them permission to do. You did, but you didn't. You know what I mean? You did because it's got this lengthy terms of service that no one ever reads. They just want to get in and get their content, right? And so of course you're going to say yes. Just like, you know, I mean, everything is set up like this. And you really start to think about it. I mean, even to the point of look at these subscriptions, right? You know, subscription model. Hey, you can catch this for free. Just subscribe, you know, for a free trial. Right, you get the free trial. Well, how many people get in, get the free trial, and never, you know what I mean, and forget to unsubscribe, so you don't get billed, and then they get that first bill because you know most people forget, and that's what they count on. They count on at least getting one payment from people because of their, you know, and all of this psychology and behavior models and all of this stuff has all been studied. It's all been studied and mapped out and you know, focus grouped and all of this stuff. So they know our behavior better than we know our own behavior.
Right. Are you still live on TikTok?
I thought I was. Wait a minute.
Yeah, because you froze on mine and then you got kicked out.
Oh crap!
So,
I'll come back in. I was trying to tweet something and I got
yeah, join me back in. I didn't know if if maybe you got canceled out by showing the butt.
No, I'm right. No, I'm right. Am I back now? Yeah, I'm back on it now, but I gotta invite you again, huh?
Yeah, I'll invite you now.
All right, sorry about that.
Says not available. Hold on.
There we go. All right, sorry about that. rookie move. I'm over here trying to share this thing, and then got into the conversation and forgot all about me sharing the shit on Twitter. So my apologies, everybody on TikTok, for abandoning you, especially if you have any kind of abandonment issues. I understand, and I can definitely.
No, but I believe that's definitely the issue with TikTok. I believe, security always comes first for the government. And one thing, this is a lot of my message. This is a lot of what my podcast is about, is trying to get the Americans to understand how this government operates. And 9 times out of 10, anytime you hear these people saying anything, you go the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
When these people are up here showing a force of national security and all this, the only security that they're concerned of is their own. They're not worried about our security. They're not worried about our censorship, right? They're trying to suppress us. So anytime that we see them going after an entity, whatever that entity is, and it's them trying to protect their own rights. It's a shame. The CEO of TikTok, which is a Chinese man, Chinese company, was defending our First Amendment rights more than our own government.
That's a great point.
Absurd.
Well, this whole administration, I mean, from the gate, you can see that they're not for freedom. I mean, look at that. Look at, I know Trump did the lockdown initially, but they didn't have no problems continuing it. And in some of these Democratic states, like where I live, in San Francisco Bay Area, it is 100% different than everywhere else. I'm going to guarantee you that right now. And I've been to other places. I've been even during the pandemic, I went down to Florida, me and you met
right
down in Tampa. And, the difference between how they were there and how we are here, and not we as in me, but as in this place, how they were, it was crazy. Complete different. I mean, literally, like going from like one country to another.
Oh yeah.
In the same country.
It's crazy over here in Florida right now, man. Florida's off the chain. You got people. We're in a big racial time warp out here in Florida, man. It's crazy what's going on. You have people that's now out here promoting, don't come to Florida. If you're black, don't come to Florida. Because you're gonna go to prison or end up dead.
Oh,
it's crazy.
In Wasserman Schultz County. Did you know that how much crap goes on in that woman's county? Like shady shit. In Dade, what is she? Dade County? Is that her district?
I'm not familiar with who you're
Debbie
talking about.
Wasserman Schultz.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's one of those interesting folks that is in politics in Florida. And DeSantis.
I don't follow these people anymore, man, because they're all hypocrites. They're all liars, and until one shows me that they're not, I don't even pay attention to them. I'm above these people. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, it's 3-card Monty, really. I mean, it's no different fucking with national politics or politics in general. It's you might as well just go down into the hood and go and get in on a game of 3-card Monty or the cards where they're, hey, if you can pick the card, it's like hustle, right? And so is that. That's a hustle too. It's just a hustle at scale.
And people are shocked when I say this. I had a meeting yesterday, and just other people that I have talked to, man, that when I sit there and I tell them, they'll ask me if I'm registered to vote or whatever, and I'll tell them, I know, and nor will I vote. I don't believe in the vote. I believe it's all a sham. These people are shocked by it. Well, how do you expect change? Well, I expect change by being a better person in the community. That's how I expect change. When I go out, I be the best person I can be. and change will come from that. It's not going to come from me voting another human being in that I'm going to think is going to make my life better. That's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And then I would also agree that or not, I can't agree with the point that I haven't even made yet. That's how biased I am. So
got a little narcissism sitting in there, huh, buddy?
Oh man,
And I agree with this point that I'm getting ready to make, of course, because I'm making it.
little Trumpish, right? Let's say, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn cannabis, cannabis. And now I think that's a great way to segue into a public service announcement. If you have pain, be it emotional or physical, soreness, anything like that, you should be using Rick Simpson oil. And Rick Simpson oil is a cannabis product that is a full spectrum THC enriched healing oil. And the reason why I use this is it's a thing that I make. I make from the plant that I grow and consume. And I use it for exactly that. I actually used to use it. The first time that I ever used this product, it was to get off of opiates. So I was strung out on painkillers for about 7 years, and this is serious stuff here. I mean, I know I joke a lot, but this is serious. For 7 years, and I was having the damnedest time getting off of these damn things, right? I could still function. It wasn't like when I was on meth and, I immediately went from, wherever to zero. This I could function on, but it was the dependence and, you know what I mean? And it's bad for you, these opiates and painkillers. So what I did is I weaned myself down, halved my dose every week. And then that helped a little bit with the sickness that you get from the withdrawal. Right. And then what I do? Oh, I use the Rick Simpson oil and use it as an edible to take away the rest of it once I pulled off completely. And so it worked really well. And then it cured my plantar fasciitis. I rubbed it on there. I suffer from that from time to time, just usually because of my weight. And it came back up. It flared. I had it for 7 years ago. Then it went away and it flared back up. And I rubbed it on my on the spot, for about a month straight, and it went away. So an amazing product. If you have a dispensary near you, it helps for sleep as well. Get down there and get yourself some Rick Simpson oil.
Fucking Rick Simpson oil, man. Go get it, man. That plantar fasciitis, man, that shit hurts.
It does, man. It's super debilitating. And it's the hardest thing to get out of once you're in it. It took forever the first time that I had it. It just had to go away on its own. There was nothing that I could do. Like they sell special socks and all these weird contraptions for it.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
So I ran across this article, and we'll circle back to what we were talking about because there's no shortage of bullshit to talk about. It was so it came across from I was looking at my LinkedIn, and one of my former guests on the show, she shared this. And she was an interesting guest because she wrote a book that talked about ticks and tick-borne illnesses and them. Remember how ticks were used as a bioweapon at one point, and that's where they think Lyme disease came from in the Northeast because of the ticks that they were dropping on people. And this is real shit. So she wrote a book about it. I can't remember what episode it is, but I'll go back. If you go through my live streams on my YouTube channel, you'll be able to find it, but I'll reference it. But it was Yeah, she that was a real she's really an interesting person. But anyways, it's how childhood trauma can be mistaken for ADHD. Now, have you ever ran across kids that have behavioral issues?
Hmm. Yes. Every time I look in the mirror.
Well, besides ourselves.
Every well, all my friends.
That sound like we sound like comedians. All our friends are fucked up misfit toys. And it's really interesting because when as I was reading it and I started thinking about it myself, I was like, holy shit, that makes a whole lot of sense that it could be mistaken. And sure enough, I mean, these monsters that sort of rule over us, we know that they're into some crazy weird shit, right? With kids and not all of them, but I mean that there is that element of shit that's going down, right? Um why wouldn't they, especially since the Rockefellers are the ones that started the whole medical system, and
Mhm.
he's one of those people probably, or family members, whatever, that practice Luciferianism and child sacrifice and all that stuff. That's real. I mean, it's not fake. They were doing that back in the Mayan days. They've been doing it out throughout history. It's a real thing. And why wouldn't they make the symptoms of trauma ADHD, right? Combined. So you would never know when a child's displaying distress symptoms of trauma. Oh, he's just got ADHD, you know what I mean? And so therefore when, the secret still stays. Whatever the traumatic thing is, whether you're getting diddled by your uncle, whether you're getting, beat by your dad or your mom, or whatever the case may be, whatever traumatic situation is, it it makes sense to me that just from watching the last 3 years and how everything's kind of unfolding and we see what the hack is, look at the opposite, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean that's exactly it. When you have people in white coats who you've indoctrinated your population to trust these people unexplicably to whatever it is that they say, and now you have these people sitting here telling you, well, this is our studies, this is what we're diagnosing people with these types of symptoms, and they label it. You take that in as what it is. So sticking with the ADHD, yeah, you're showing all these signs of hypertension, anxiety, depression, mood swings. All of these things that they're injecting in us through food process, through, like you say, ticks. They're dropping. I've never heard that before, but it's definitely plausible to me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
um just all these mechanisms that they've used on us throughout the years, whether you believe them or not. You can call us conspiracy theorists, but half this shit is coming true, more than half this shit. When you go back and you read Orwell's 1985 and look at what's going on today, so it's understanding, and these are things that I'm trying to get into as well, Sean, is stop labeling myself as ADD, stop labeling myself as OCD, stop labeling myself as these other people's perceptions of me, and just be me. This is who I am, and just understand and learn how to deal with that,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. We're just like anything else. Most of the things that we believe are things that we've been told.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And it's nothing that we've really experienced other than some symptoms of something. But I mean, take ADHD, for example. I mean, that's a hyperactive kid, right? Well, boys have a lot more energy and they express it differently than girls. It's like, and sometimes, I mean, that's not something that they need Ritalin for. You know what I mean? You don't need Ritalin for that. You just need to go and run around and get that shit out. You
Right.
know, you don't
You're
need
just
to
a
be
hyperactive
medicated.
kid.
And then also, then there's certain other things that you see in kids, that the behaviors like acting out, that you start to question. Like if you're really paying attention to children on a let's say a playground, and you're watching all of them, right? You see the different ways that they're interacting with the other kids in the playground, right? And you can sort of tell the differences between them and how they interact. And the ones that are usually aggressive and sort of angrier, or you know what I mean, those tend to be ones that you can tell that there might be something happening at home. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're being touched, but something's going on because they're not interacting with things. And then also too, when you have little kids that touch, right, try to touch other little kids inappropriately, they learn that from something.
Hmm.
Kids just don't know how to do that.
No. And who's to say that it's inappropriate? I mean, kids are curious. So a kid, depending on what age you're talking about, if you're 15, then that might be a different story. But if
Yeah.
if you're 5, 6 years old, you don't know. You don't know. Even if you're 7, 8 years old, you don't know. You're just understanding these things. You may see your parents naked for the first time or something. It's curiosity. But when you start labeling these things, right, and start putting fear into it, or assumption into it, or anything of that nature, that's where the stigma kinds, like you say, that stigmatic education kinds, get set in.
Yeah.
And we grow up with these. See, because by the time we get to 20, 25 years old, we don't remember 8, 9 years old. We may remember key emotional instances,
Mm.
but we don't remember what people were telling us back then. We don't remember what was being put into our brain. But at that time, our personalities are being formed to other people's perceptions, right? Like if you have an 8-year-old who likes attention and he knows that every time he comes into the room, he gets all the attention, he's learning, I'm going to go into the room to go get this attention.
Yeah. It's almost like going for water.
So we're forming our children, and going back to the TikTok, it's the same thing, right? Where you have these parents that don't know how to monitor their own children. They don't know how to raise their own children, and they're depending on the government to raise their children. So when now their children are on TikTok and their parents can't get them off TikTok, they want the government to get them off TikTok. Right? This is what's going on.
And honestly, of all the apps that I've been on and been scrolling through and wasting time in, um, TikTok is the only one that has me smiling and laughing almost the entire time that I'm scrolling through watching stuff and looking at things. And if that's how it's making me feel, I'm taking a break from reality, right? Now I
Mm.
get it if I'm on it all day long, and like anything else, if you're abusing the privilege of being able to do this, well, then that's something you need to look at, right? Because it's not something that you should be on all day long unless this is what you're making money on, right? Then there's a difference, and you can make money here. So, there's a flip side of that. But I mean, is it bad that if my kid was scrolling through something that makes him happy and laugh versus being traumatized by the things that you see because you can't control it, which is YouTube at one point, which is Twitter. You can find porn on Twitter. You can find, all kinds of things on all these other ones too.
Well, I mean, the worst one for me is Snapchat.
I've never been on. I don't understand Snapchat, so I've never used it.
Listen, go open you an account on Snapchat. Right? As soon as I opened an account on Snapchat, man, I was inundated with naked women. Join this profile, look at this profile. And like they're videos of naked women doing whatever. Come see the rest. And like,
Yeah.
I just joined this profile. You know what I mean? But they want to talk about the sex on TikTok. That's why I say it's all a sham, man.
I've never seen sex on TikTok. I've never seen any of the things that they were saying. I have never seen any of that stuff on TikTok. I'm like, where are you finding that? Because I've never
Well,
seen that.
well, what I don't like is you'll have these young girls and young guys, both the children. You have children on there that are exposing themselves to sexuality for likes and subscribes. And they see that they'll get millions of followers, things of that nature. And so they're in their child mind, they can't they can't foresee the future. They can't see how that this momentary thing, right, based upon your physicalness, right, you've objectified yourself, how that is going to affect you through your life.
Mm,
So as kids, we can't think like that, right? That's hence why we're going to prison at the alarming rate that we're going, because we can't think of the long term. We can only think of what we need now. What is now? What is now for our kids? Our kids are missing confidence. Our kids are missing any kind of morality. You know what I mean? Half these kids' parents are sleeping with their friends. You know, you got a young dad who the daughter brings her friends over and the young dad's hitting on her friends. Same with the mom. You know, this is the type of sadistic reality that we're living in today.
no, you're right. And I used to live when I was in Vegas. I lived in this court or street that kind of ended in a court. It was there was this one house that would always have block parties or would have parties, right? Because it was always this. There's always this one house wherever you live in a neighborhood. That's the party house, right? They've got the pool, they've got the setup for in the backyard with for the barbecues and all this other stuff. And I would often that's a recipe for inappropriateness right there, because kids are going back and forth between houses and unsupervised and drinking, and you never know if old Jim next door, as kids are running through, sees hey, come here, let me tell you, and makes some crazy advances. I mean, that's more common than people like to think. Shit like that, man. It's scary, especially that I have a daughter now, right? I have a 5-year-old daughter, so it's like I'm constantly thinking about that kind of shit, like not letting her like be too far. Don't let them get too far out of your sight or too comfortable with anybody, because you don't know people. Even though you think you know them, you don't really know people.
No. And that's the thing is, you kind of have to raise your children today like you would a guard dog. You know what I mean? You when you're raising a guard dog, you don't want your dog to interact with a lot of people. You want to teach the dog that these are strangers and not to trust these people, right? And to only trust the ones that you bring around, right? So when people come to your house, what do you do with your guard dog? You put them up and things of that nature. Now, of course, we can't lock our children up and such. So how do we put this into context, right? It's getting your children at a young age to understand that when you put yourself in a position of needing others, you put yourself in a manipulative position, right? People will manipulate you and abuse you and any chance they get, because at the end of the day, there are two things that people try to consume from others, and that's your energy and your money. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like I teach my daughter, you have to understand that everybody you come in contact with has an agenda. So it's you to understand what is the agenda, what is your motivation, your agenda for coming into contact with me. It could be based solely just for friendship, right? And that's something that you have to understand as well. Agenda doesn't mean good or bad, it's just agenda. So it's understanding these things. When you raise a proper child, you don't have to monitor their social media because they already understand to monitor themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I totally get that. Uh, it's a I don't know, man. Navigating this world right now, if you have kids, is really difficult because you know, as you're watching, as we're all watching everything unfold, that there's a good chance that our kids are not going to have the same sort of life that we did, and be able to experience life in the same ways that we did.
Mm.
So that's kind of tough. But back to this article. All right, so how childhood trauma could be mistaken for ADHD. Dr. Nicole Brown's quest to understand her misbehaving pediatric patients began with a hunch. Brown was completing her residency at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore when she realized that many of her low income patients had been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. These children lived in households and neighborhoods where violence and relentless stress prevailed. Their parents found them hard to manage, and teachers described them as disruptive or inattentive. Brown knew these behaviors as classic symptoms of ADHD, a brain disorder characterized by impulsivity, hyperactivity, and an inability to focus. When Brown looked closely, though, she saw something else: trauma. Hypervigilance and disassociation, for example, could be mistaken for inattention. Impulsivity might be brought on by a stress response in overdrive. Despite our best efforts in referring them to behavioral therapy and starting them on stimulants, it was hard to get the symptoms under control, she said, of treating her patients according to guidelines for ADHD. I began hypothesizing that perhaps a lot of where we were seeing was more externalizing behavior as a result of family dysfunction or other traumatic experience. Considered a heritable brain disorder, 1 in 9 US children, or 6.4 million youth, currently have a diagnosis of ADHD. Holy shit, that's a lot of kids. 6.4 million. In recent years, parents and experts have questioned whether the growing prevalence of ADHD has to do with hasty medical evaluations, a flood of advertising for ADHD drugs, and increased pressure on teachers to cultivate high performing students. Now, Brown and other researchers are drawing attention to a compelling possibility. Inattentive, hyperactive, and impulsive behavior may in fact mirror the effects of adversity, and many pediatricians, psychiatrists, and psychologists don't know how or don't have the time to tell the difference.
They put me on Ritalin as a kid.
Did they?
I was on Ritalin and Prozac.
Now, did did you suffer trauma as a child, or were you you were just not interested in what you were learning, and it wasn't
Well, I mean,
keeping
you
your
just have
attention?
to. I don't know. You just have to understand. I guess define trauma. I mean, to each of their own. It was life. You know what I mean? It was life. It was. Sure, I grew up to a machismo father. He was a womanizer. My life, my father pretty much hated my mother, didn't want anything to do with her, but felt that she got pregnant with me to try to lock him down to keep him. So that's kind of the environment I came into. At 8 months pregnant, my mom was trying to abort herself with me because she was tired of being pregnant with me, because she saw that her scheme didn't work with my dad. So this was my environment. So I mean, is that traumatic? I would say so,
Hmm.
because you're not being raised in an environment of love. You're not wanted. Yeah, you're wanted because this is your DNA in your child, but you weren't planned for. You're a burden.
Mm.
And that's how you're made to feel coming up. But how does a child know that? How does a child understand that? A child just feels like they're insufficient, like they've done something wrong to receive this. Because I have an older brother as well who was treated differently. So it's that's the trauma. Now, uh, the effects from that, I don't know. They Because my attention span in school wasn't there. Number one, I couldn't see. My eyesight was so bad, and the glasses they had back then was those big, thick, plastic,
Mhm.
wood-looking shits, and I wasn't gonna wear that in school, so I just wouldn't even pay attention to what was going on in school. So that was a lot of the issue. So yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, there was a lot of issues that resulted into me rebelling back at 13, 14, and committing the crimes that I did. True enough.
Now, do you think that because when you're in the your mom's stomach, right? When you're in the womb and you're growing, they kids supposedly we're supposed to feel the emotions from your mom. So like if your mom's in an abusive relationship, that anxiety and everything else that she feels from, the abuse or whatever gets transferred to the child. Now I wonder if the same thing is also true for if if your mom is walking around thinking to herself, damn, I don't want this kid, and this is going to be such a blah blah blah, you know what I mean? They're not feelings of other mothers who plan for this that are walking around holding their stomach like, oh my god, I love you so much, I can't wait to meet you. Different kind of talk.
I would have to imagine that the child that's attached in the fetus in the womb to uh, I mean, even knows the mother's dreams. They
Mm,
may even share the same dreams, because when my the mother of my child, my daughter, like, we would have these conversations where she would tell me, like, she dreamed of the baby and things of that nature. So I'm sure there's a lot of connection. How could there not be? So absolutely, just like the joy would radiate into the baby, the pain would radiate into the baby as well.
yeah, so I mean there's just I think there's so much we still don't know
Hmm.
about having kids, should you even have them? You know what I mean? If you're not in the proper environment, if this is true, what we're saying, if you're not in the proper environment to raise a child, should you be? Considering that all aspects of the environment play a part in from the time it's conceived to the time it's delivered, everything affects it. And then growing up, that environment that you're around, you know what I mean? That's why offenders have the hardest time coming back to the same environment, because you're just picking up right where you left off, even
Mm.
from the family members, right? You go right back into a dysfunctional situation where the codependence, from the family kicks back in, and nobody's done anything or any kind of trying to change, because most of them don't know how to change, right? And so
No,
you
that's
get
that's
dumped back.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you get dumped right back into an environment that you're like, okay, well, all right, let's go back to business. you know, those auto responses kick right back in because you haven't made new ones.
Yeah, no question. And if you believe in being a product of your environment, which there's many scientific facts to prove that, but then you have to understand and believe that you're a product of every environment that you're in, no matter that environment. And in the womb, I would have to say, I don't know, man. Really speaking at a molecular level, even before your brain is really kind of formed and starts its actual recording process, the DNA, the cells are still recording its
Mm.
environment and logging that. So I mean, down to the every single cell of that entity as it's being formed, the energy that's coming from the host, which would be the mother, is going into that DNA as well. It's going into that structure.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
if you're
even
creating, well, just to finish that thought, if you're creating, right, if this environment, this energy that's going into these cells, being recorded by this DNA, is being filled with negative, chaotic energy, and it's consistent throughout that whole 9-month process, then how would that baby not feel comfortable in anything but a chaotic environment?
Yeah, and then that plays into self-sabotage, right? Because
Right.
if you create what you're comfortable in. And if you're comfortable in chaos and your life is smooth, you don't really understand where you're at. And you don't and it's almost like, and the same thing goes for kids that are always in trouble. They don't know what success is. They don't know what success feels like. So when they start to go towards it, they don't like the way it feels, because a lot of times they feel like it's going to get taken away anyways, or they're going to fuck it up anyways. It always goes away. And so they do it themselves, so they don't have to worry about somebody else pulling the rug out from under them.
100%.
You know?
And I think, I mean, that speaks a lot into to like what you're saying. So now, okay, going back to this article, which I really don't know if we want to read the whole article, but going back into it, it's understanding now we're taking this child with this quote unquote disorder to this quote unquote white coat, this doctor, who now is telling us that our child is dysfunctional and needs to be put on this medication, and it's going to balance their hormones and all of this stuff, as if they know that that particular medication is going to do that for this particular individual. They don't.
Mhm.
It's all based off case study. It's all a rounded number. But you have no idea how this particular medication, first, you don't even know what's in it. You're just going by what they tell you what's in it, but you have no idea what's in this pill that you're now putting into your flesh and blood, into your child, hoping that it corrects whatever it is that this person says is wrong.
Mhm.
Right.
And then, but also too, there's another side of this. So yes, there's, the trauma that can bring this out, but then there's another element, that ADHD diagnosis. And there was a doctor that I was following, and I think I sent you the link to it, but it was talking about, so he did a study in his own practice, right? And he had like 10,000 people in his practice. He's up in Oregon, and he had vaccinated children, and he also had unvaccinated children, enough so that he could do the study. And from the data that he's compiled throughout the years, right, he was able to put this study together, and it showed that vaccinated children were had a higher likeliness to have ADHD diagnosis versus those that didn't have any. There was the baseline, it was like shot up for the vaccinated kids, and then it was like baseline for the unvaccinated kids. So there's also that you have to contend with too, because you don't know, I mean, it neurological stuff has been happening, autism, all this other stuff, and it's been correlated around the same time that the schedule went from, I think, 5 or 6 to like 27. So not to get derailed into a vaccination discussion, but there's that you have to look at too.
Well, no, but it all coincides with it, because okay, let's take my daughter for example again, right? My daughter, because of my situation, me being incarcerated since she was 6 months old and coming home when she was 13 years old, has no understanding of who her father is. She only knows, going back to what we were talking about, as to what has been implemented into her brain about me,
Mm.
other people's opinions and perceptions. And they haven't been very kind. Nobody never has anything good to say about me. They never have, right? So, at least when it comes to my family members, for the most part, so with my mother, with the mother of my child, she has used my child as a pawn against me to hurt me because I hurt her. Now, how does that coincide with the vaccine? Now, nobody listens to me when it comes to what I want for my child. So when this COVID thing came out, of course, I'm against the vaccine from RIP. Like, no, I'm not going to get nothing. Yet my daughter staying with her mom, she gets sick, quote unquote, with this COVID stuff. They take her to the doctor. The doctor says that she has COVID. She needs to get the vaccine. Nobody tells me anything about this. Nobody says, "Hey, how do you feel about your daughter getting the vaccine?" Anything about that. No respect for the father. So they went and just got her the vaccine. I don't find this out until 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. Right. So my daughter's like, yeah, well, because I tell her, I haven't heard from you. She's like, well, I was sick with COVID. I'm like, what do you mean you was sick with COVID? How come nobody told me? I said, your mother couldn't even contact me and tell me that you were sick. She's like, no, but I went to the doctor. Everything's okay. I got the vaccine. I'm like, you got what? Why would you get the vaccine if you just had COVID? Who told you that? She's like, well, the doctor told me that I need to get the vaccine. I said, you just got COVID. You got something better than anything they can give you.
Mhm.
Why would the doctor tell you that you need to get the vaccine if you were just sick? That makes no sense. But here again, because you take the father out of the equation, the protector,
Mhm.
this is what happens now. And now when I'm sitting here watching all of these people die, right, who's had these vaccines and all of these symptoms coming from these vaccines, and I got to sit here and watch Dr. Fauci, this and that, and it
No, you're right. And we don't know that that people are dying because of this.
right.
Uh there's a lot of things that are pointing in the direction that it could be, but the
But
jury's
isn't
still
it
out.
suspicious?
Yeah, the jury is still out. And as far as I know, they're saying that the shot is safe and effective, and it's helping people. I mean, the jury's still out on that too. So more will be revealed as it is right now.
That's what they
Right.
say. And they also say that TikTok is a danger.
Yeah, they say it's dangerous to everybody. I don't know. I've never experienced danger on TikTok. I've only experienced happiness, rainbows, and smiles and laughs.
And haters, there are haters.
I haven't run into any of those yet either. But I don't do a whole lot on TikTok. I mean, I do my posts, but the lives is something that I've started to do, and it's not like I'm really doing very good over on that either, because only one person is watching. So it's like it's not we're not captive. I'm not captivating anybody over here, but it's one of those things you have to. Consistency with everything, man. Everything in life is about consistency, showing up and keep doing it even when nobody's watching, because why are you doing it anyways? If you don't
That's
enjoy
right.
it, you shouldn't be doing it. And with
That's right.
that, take your Rick Simpson oil. It'll make you feel good.
Right. Rick Simpson.
And you can actually, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, I'll throw up the Rick Simpson's website. I don't know if he's alive still, but his website is Phoenix PHOENIXTEARS.ca. And you can go over there, and the dosing and how to make it, all that stuff is over on his website.
Can you pull a website up on the YouTube?
You
Can we
mean
look at a
on
website?
on the screen,
Yeah.
on the sharing?
Can you or no?
Yeah. What do you want to see? What do you want me to pull up?
Well, I got my raffle tonight, man. So let's go on because you haven't even signed up for my raffle. So let's go and let's do that so we can show the people how to sign up for this raffle tonight so I could try to give away free tickets. I got free stuff to give away, man.
.com. I might.
We can show the people how to do that. Because I've
All
been
right.
wanting to do that, and you know how to do it. See, again, this is the stuff I need to learn how to do with my Streamlabs.
All right, so let's add this into the queue. Add to the stream.
So for my plug, everybody who's watching, and for those watching later down the road, I'm Thomas Freeme. This is Coast to Coast Elevated Coffee Talk with Sean Dustin and Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and of course, this is the Thomas Freeme TV and podcast show. We've been doing this here for the past couple weeks now. Saturday mornings, just getting up and kicking the bobo, as some would say. But you can find me just simply by Googling Thomas Freeme or visiting www.thethomasfreemeshow.com. But more importantly, I'm a founder of a nonprofit called Coming Home Coalition, which you can find at www.cominghomecoalition.com, which hopefully Sean will be pulled up here shortly. And then we can walk you through the raffle that I have tonight. I have a raffle going to give away free baseball tickets, Major League Baseball tickets to the Tampa Bay Rays. And also, I'm giving 2 tickets, 2 gift cards, your choice of a Sprouts $50 gift card or a Publix $50 gift card as well. And if we can get up to $200 in donations, I'm also going to throw in a free PS5 game. It's completely free to play, but we do ask for a $1 donation for each ticket if you can, but it's completely free to play. We want people to play. We want people to win. The raffle is tonight on my YouTube at 8:30. I will go live tonight, 8:30 Saturday night cell block, and do the raffle drawing at 8:30. So please go sign up, man. Go get you some free stuff.
So where do you sign up at? I'm on your
Okay, so you go to Project Start Fresh is what the raffle is about. And we are helping an individual by the name of Eddie Deloy, who is a homeless man. So what Project Start Fresh is, it was founded by my co-founders. This is her passion, homelessness and whatnot. So this is her Project Start Fresh, and she just wants to help one person at a time. So we find one person who's still dedicated and motivated to get up and aspire, just having a tough time in life, lost everything for whatever reason. And we help them get their credit straight. We help them get back into self-sufficiency, and we walk them through that whole process. There's a program, and that's what we fundraise for, because all of this stuff comes out of our own pocket,
Yeah.
So that's why we need people to go out and donate, sign up, understand what's going on, and get you some free stuff, man.
Yeah, that's great that you're doing that. I still haven't done anything with mine other than continuing to do the 990N thing to say that, hey, this is what I want to do. It'll get there though. Okay, so you add a donation.
You're a busy guy, man.
Let's see. So basically, you just come in here and you select how many tickets you want.
I think the max is 2. You can select 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go 2, and then you add a donation like for whatever you want to however much you want to donate. Right, it's up to you.
However
but the
much you want
minimum
to donate,
is $1.
It's completely free to play. You don't have to donate anything. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so it is completely free to play. We're asking for a $1 donation for each ticket, but you can donate whatever it is that you can for Eddie Deloy. But No, it's completely free to play.
And then you just hit the donate button, and it asks for all of your information, your numbers and whatnot. And then that's it, right? Then you just you purchase, or you donate, or you don't. And if you're gonna play, you should at least donate at least $1, you know.
Well, I mean, this is $300 worth of stuff that you can get just from the baseball tickets and the gift card. Because how we looked at it is, even if you got free baseball tickets, you're still going to lose a day. You're still going to end up putting some money, gas, maybe some food. So we're throwing in that $50 gift card as well that has been donated from Sprouts and Publix, and you'll have your choice of one or the other. So to help alleviate with some of that stress as well. So because we want you to enjoy the baseball game and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah, and baseball games are fun to go to. I haven't been to one in a while. I think after we got locked down, and it was remember the whole seasons where they had the cardboard cutouts in the
Yeah,
in the back, and then they added in fan noise to sort of make it seem like it was a legit game.
ridiculousness.
Yeah, it just didn't work. And it's like, and so that just goes to show, if they're going to try to trick your brain into thinking that that's like legit, right? Why
Mhm.
wouldn't they do it for everything else? It's all about, what do they call that? Optics.
Oh yeah, optical illusions.
But that's how my brain works, man. I think everybody's out to fuck me, and
Well, because they are, Sean.
oh
Listen,
man.
people are the people. Everybody you come across is out to get something from you. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
No. No.
Plain
And
and simple.
because I say no, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's you being the kid throwing the blanket over your head, saying the monsters can't get you.
I say who, I say when. Remember that scene from A Pretty Woman where she's the hooker, and his friend Stucky or Stuffy or whoever the hell, the little short guy, Richard Gere's friend,
Yeah,
tries to hit on her, and you're a hooker. And she's all, well, I say who, I say when.
that's right. Yeah, you telling Julia.
Yeah, you are pretty, and you deserved to say who and when.
Man, Hollywood has really fucked us up, man.
Right? All
It
that
really, really
useless
has.
shit stuck in our heads.
I had a
You can only,
conversation. Go ahead.
no, I was saying, you can only carry so much information in your head before it won't take in anymore. And so if you wasted it by having 90s, like I was raised by the TV. And so I've got so much useless shit stuck in my head from shows I used to watch, like I could fucking reference in a minute.
Stigma. You got a lot of stigma in your head.
Shh, don't tell nobody.
Well, I say that because of the 90s, the 80s and the 90s. That's when the most stigmatic TV was out there. Me too. I was raised on the TV. I was put in front of the TV all the time. So it's understanding that, just like what you just said, and understanding that a lot of this stuff and how I think is completely fictional. It's fantasy. It's what was put in my head.
Mm.
I had a conversation with a woman the other day where she was sitting there telling me, well, I still believe in true love, and I still believe in The Notebook. I've never watched The Notebook, for one, but people reference this movie.
I did.
So, but that's the thing, is that Hollywood has put an image in your head of what a relationship should look like, or what love should look like, or whatever anything should look like. And you put this in your head, and now you're out here in reality trying to find that, and you're realizing that people suck.
Yeah, that's why I like
People aren't the freaking Notebook, man.
No, and that's why most people prefer animals, their dogs and their cats over having friends and people, because it's like you don't, people disappoint you. And a lot of that has to do with the expectations and the unreal expectations that we
That's
put on
right.
other people, right? And when anytime you put an expectation on anything, you're opening yourself up for disappointment.
That's right. That's what I was gonna say. No, people don't disappoint us. We disappoint us,
Mhm.
because we put an expectation on somebody, just like you just said. I expect this person to be a certain way because they're showing me characteristics of it, but yet this person ain't that way.
No. Or you expect them to react in a way, because you've done something for them. Well, if you're going to put an expectation on a nicety, then you probably shouldn't be doing nice shit for people, because
Mm,
that completely negates the whole reason of doing something nice for somebody. You do something nice for somebody because you genuinely care about that person and want to do something nice for them, not because of how they're going to react to you, or so you can get some likes, some like real life likes. Really is what you're after.
right. That's exactly right. Which is why there's not much footage of me doing the things that I do, because I'm in the midst of it. I'm not out here walking around with my phone in one hand, filming me handing homeless people clothes and stuff like that. I got 2 boxes of Narcan I got here that I got to go pass out. And yeah, true enough, I need to market myself and publicize myself and what I do so that people can see what I do. So, but I feel funny doing it. So I got to go set up a booth somewhere. I got to set up my phone and prop it up so I can be recorded. But I'm gonna make a small little podcast out of it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do that and set up and tell these homeless individuals or addicted individuals, listen, you get a box of Narcan for 1 minute of your time. Give me a minute of who you are. Let the world
Mm.
know who you are, and kind of turn it into something like that versus filming me pass out much needed supplies to individuals who need it.
Oh, that's a good idea. I mean, you see the guy over in Soft White Underbelly. I mean,
Right. I love
his
that guy.
yeah, his studio is right on Skid Row down in LA. So I mean, he's around those folks all the time, and so that's what he's the what do they call him? Santa. Because he's anytime he comes and he's going to interview somebody, he usually gives them, a decent amount of money to do the interview.
Mm. Man, that dude's got millions of followers, man, and his podcast, his show is one of the simplest shows you could put together. It's mastermindful, but yet it has a personableness to it. Like when you watch his interviews of these are just and I take it from what I take it. I have no idea where his studio is or anything like that, but I always took it as this was an open door for people just to come in and express who it is or tell their story.
Yeah. But did you see and we're talking about a YouTube channel called the Soft White Underbelly, and the host,
Yeah.
his name is Mark Leda, and he used to be a marketing commercial film, like you shoot photo commercials stuff, print advertising and the such. And he decided he wanted to take that into like the podcasting realm, and it was a really interesting interview. And the guy is super like he's in some aspects you can tell he's getting emotional, right, and talking about some of the things that he talks about. And I mean, he doesn't literally lose it, but I like it when Rogan's talking to people, and they're just real people, man. They show emotion. They don't, they're not really, they're just, they're letting you get to see them. I guess that's the best way that I could say that.
Mhm.
And it was a really good interview. So if anybody out there, check out the Mark Leda interview on Joe Rogan. He is the creator and host, producer, and all that of the Soft White Underbelly.
Now, was this guy, does he have any experience with any of this stuff, or was he just is he just filming other people's experience? Like, was he an addict, or was he incarcerated, or any of these things?
I don't think so. I just think that he I mean, it all kind of started with I think the West Virginia family, the inbred family,
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
yeah, and all the attention that that kind of got, and then he just sort of wanted to like you
Oh,
have
that's
to
the same guy?
yeah
I didn't know that. I
yeah
saw the well, did I
that
see
was
well,
his
maybe I
first thing
did.
that he did before he was doing the before he did the podcast. He did almost like a I want to say a book of photographs, and these photographs were from these families, right? Pictures of the inbred family, and telling that story through photos, right? And then he just it just sort of naturally progressed into a podcast, and then this is sort of the way that he did it, and it takes him out of the equation, right? You hear him talking, but he's not on camera, so you're not focused on him. You're just focused solely on his subject.
Hmm.
And I
Huh.
think
I don't think I knew
that's the
that.
difference. And he doesn't really talk a whole lot in it. Like if you were to look at his sound wave, audio sound wave is probably pretty flat for most of his interviews.
Hmm.
He likes interviewing people that will just take the ball and run with it and just talk. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that he looks for in the people that he interviews. Are they good storytellers? Can they captivate an audience for, because a lot of these folks, I would think that, are suffering from addiction or some of these other things. I mean, me included, we have grandiose ideas of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
And
Well, you have to, I would imagine.
yeah, and you're if you're a good storyteller, it's like you tend to be a more animated individual. And sometimes when I tell my story, you'll catch me almost like glorifying, because it wasn't all shit. There was some fun there.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And regular life is fucking boring. I mean, it is.
Speaking of interviews, if there was one person ever, just one person in this at this moment right now, I mean, it could change within the next 10 minutes or whatever, but in this moment right now, if there's one person that you could interview, who would it be? Dead or alive?
Huh. That's a good question. Now, I'm gonna have to break it up into like two, right? Celebrity, and or not even celebrity, impact, and the a person that's had the most impact on my life, and then family, I would say, or somebody that's dead that you would want that I'd want to talk to in a different in a way. So I would say an easy one for me would be Joe Rogan, because he's had a super impact on me, because I listen to him religiously, and he's the one that got me to start my podcast and thinking differently, and even wanting to just be a better person, right? After addiction and everything else, because just because all of those bad things go away, the bad behavior that it helped to form doesn't go away. That stays. That's why they talk
Mm,
about the dry drunk, right? The guy that, yeah, my dad doesn't drink anymore, but he still beats the shit out of me.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's sort of the thing, right? You can take all the stuff away, but the shit that it produces is still stuck there. Um, so him, definitely. And then I would I would say that's a tough one. I've never really thought about who I'd want to talk to, and what I would have to say to them, or what I would want to ask them. Um, I'm gonna say my grandfather
Mm,
on my dad's side, because I
mm,
didn't never really. have a relationship with him. I mean, I knew he was there, he was about, but he never really he wasn't emotional, he just sat in his chair and he watched his TV. That's really all he did. And what didn't show very much emotion, sometimes he would come to the table and play, cards with everybody, but for the most part, he just was a very emotionless person. And I
Mm.
wish I would have gotten to know him a little bit better and was able to ask him more questions about his life. And how did you get to be this way? I mean, is this how you always were? And that generation, especially the ones that came out of the depression, they were a different kind of people.
Now, was he now let me put this question out there. Now that you're an adult, because how old was you at this time?
I
The
was
time that you say he was
five,
kind of emotionalist.
5, 6, 7, 8.
So do you think that he was a man of controlled emotion or had just emotionless, like you said, no emotions?
I don't know, man. Because I don't know how. There's a whole lot I don't know about, like, how my dad was raised, and other than the fact that, I know that they used to put locks on the refrigerator because my dad and his brother would eat so much in the house, right? And they came out of the depression, so I mean, there was mason jars full of preserved food all over the place in that house, right? There was always this like need of not having enough.
Mhm.
And even to my dad now, like my dad has 5 freezers full of food, not at his house. He's got them all, one of a freezer at work. He's got a freezer over here, 2 at the house. And it's like, I mean, I get that, you want to be prepared and you don't want to starve, but I mean, um, if we end up in a situation where there's no electricity, then what?
Yeah.
What's all that food gonna do? It's all just gonna spoil and go to waste. So I get it, but then again, I don't.
Yeah. I
And
think
that's
my
all
one
brought on.
person.
No, and that's all brought on by parents that went through something,
Mhm.
right? He didn't go through that, but he carried on that fear.
That's right, because it was implanted into his DNA.
Yep. What do they call that? They call that intergenerational trauma
Mm.
or generational trauma.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Where generational trauma, where you unbeknowingly have taken on the trauma of your parents and your ancestors through your lineage and your DNA.
Hmm.
I mean, it's gotta make sense. Like, how do birds know to fly west
Well,
or
no,
east, wherever the fuck
I
they go?
definitely believe that. I definitely believe that DNA carries our lineage. There's no question. Absolutely.
I mean, have you ever wondered that? Like, how do animals know to do the things that they do?
Um, yeah, I mean, these are all philosophical thoughts that I've had sitting there high, staring at birds,
Or
you
listening
know?
to
Yeah, just sitting there like, "Hey, bird, how do you know, bird?" You know?
them. Like, why are you
But
so damn happy?
no, well, I mean, it's birds are connected. I think all animals are connected to the earth and its functions and what's going on because at the root of all living things, I think in their DNA is survival. Like
Mhm,
all living things want to survive. So we first learn how to do that, how to avoid uh, dangerous situations, and birds in particular are very interesting. You know, when I was in the federal system, I was in Miami FCI, and Miami FCI has an actual pond in the middle of the compound, right?
mhm.
So, and it's a good size. It's like it's a small lake, you know, a good size retention pond, and there's all kinds of birds in there. And we used to watch these birds and feed these birds through the season. Now, you know, the Miami Hurricanes, right, in their icon. which is the ibis, right? Is known as the ibis. And the
Mhm.
reason why this bird is Miami's particular mascot is because this is the last bird that will be around when hurricanes are coming in. So the birds already know that this storm is coming, and they all haul ass. You just see birds leaving. And when these hurricanes are now off the coast coming in and we come out of the unit, there'd be no birds out there but these ibises. And then as the storm started to roll in, you would see they would then leave. They would be the last bird to leave.
Hmm.
And that is the Miami Hurricanes icon, symbol is the ibis, the bird. So birds, their whole survival depends on the environment. So they're plugged into it. They know.
So you think that's frequency? They're tuned into a frequency of something?
Sure, biometric pressure, I'm sure atmospheric pressure changes in that. Um, all of that, I'm sure, just everything that they're in tuned with, which we are as well. We
Yeah.
just don't pay attention to it.
Well, also too, they say our pineal gland is where we experience a lot of this stuff, right? From ESP, or what do they call
Mhm.
that? Talking to people telepathically,
Yeah,
being able to
telepathy.
think about something, and somebody will pick up that somewhere, and a lot like not deja vu, but like when you think about somebody and then they call you, and then 2 days later or something, right? That's a small form of it, but I've experienced it out above. When you get out of the EMP, the electromagnetic pulse frequencies of where we're at, like right now in front of me, I have so much EMP going on. I got one, two, three, four screens going and all kinds of other shit, right?
Mhm.
So when we're in this, it's kind of like a block, right? But when you get out above this, up in the mountains, all of this stuff goes away. There's no cell service, there's no towers, there's no nothing. It's just you and nature. And when I went camping once with my dad, and we had gone up, and you can only use the place we went, you can only get to by a 4-wheel drive. So we drove up the one way that we knew. My tires were kind of balding, and I forgot to get new tires before we went, but I decided to chance it anyways. And so I was having some trouble getting up and slipping. And so we're like, well, I know there's another way to get down from here, but we don't know what it is, and I don't want to take a route that I'm not familiar with and then get stuck, right?
Mm.
And so we were thinking about this, and we had talked about it like 2 or 3 times during the trip, right? And it was coming, like, we were there for 3 days, so we talked about the first day and a half, like, "How are we gonna do this?" "I don't know." I'm like, "I don't wanna deal with it." And so the energy is already out there.
Yeah,
And the day before we were supposed to leave, somebody comes and just pulls up. We don't see a whole lot of people because, like I said, you have to be able to get into this area to get to the area. And somebody just comes down, and they come and they into our area. They come down, they park, and they're like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And we notice they came from the direction where we know there's another way. And he's like, "Hey, do you mind if we just, stay here and then drop our canoes in and go paddle around?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's no problem, whatever." And then I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, what way did you come?" And then he told us, "Oh yeah, you just got to go here," and gave us the whole direction. And he gave us some weed too, because he grows his own stuff. You know what I mean? And
mm,
it's like, holy smokes. And so that's the way we went down. But we put that out into the universe, right? And it delivered something to us.
that's right.
That's
We have
not
to
by
understand.
coincidence.
No, no. Everything that comes into your life was brought into your life by you, right? You manifest everything. You create your environment. You create your own environment. So everything that is happening to you is by your own cause, whether you understand it or not. You know,
Mhm.
we bring all of this stuff onto us, but everything is works off waves, energy. It's all energy. And just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Our eyes only see the low end of the vibrational spectrum, because once a vibration reaches a certain speed, we don't see it anymore. For example, take a tuning fork, right? For those that don't know a tuning fork, it's the fork that when you flick it, it goes back and forth. It vibrates back and forth, for timing for the music. The only time you see that metal piece is when it stops on either end. You don't see it in the middle because it's moving so fast the eye can't even register it. So it's the same with anything else, microwaves, any kind of other substances. Just because our eyes cannot see it does not mean that it is not there.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that can't be explained. And that's another thing that I have an issue with, that these scientists and all these other folks that are, studying things, is they they don't tell you that they don't know. You know what I mean? It's like nobody wants to ever say we don't know when it comes to the most serious of things. And it's like, I can't imagine, like, how do you know that in the center of the earth the shit spins around? Have you been there? Have you sent something down into the center of the earth to see if that's true? Like, how do you know that? And I think a lot of this stuff is just their best guess. They don't really fucking know. They don't know. And it's just it's so deceiving. Like, we don't know if the world's, well, I mean, you can. Most of us, I want to believe that everything that I'm seeing, you know what I mean, like the CGI stuff, and I want to believe that that's true, that the world is round, that from what we see that they show us, that's the real thing. Because if it is, it's pretty cool. And how the earth works, and all this other stuff. I mean, there's some really cool shit that goes on. But knowing everything that I know, and knowing that you can't necessarily believe everything that you see, especially when it's coming from certain sources. I mean, all of us are just kind of on blind faith that this is what it is, right? And it goes back to what we were talking to in the beginning.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like, man, we could be cells and molecules inside of a larger cell that's inside of a huge giant body that's inside of a huge planet somewhere. That's how small and infantile we are when it comes to the universe. Like, this whole universe could be just some neurological system inside of somebody's body that we're living in. We have no freaking idea. We have no clue how deep and how far this goes. I mean, we could be living on a speck of dust right now. But all we know is that this is our universe. Look at the frog. The frog, it shows the whole cycle of life within its own life. It goes from being a fish, which they say is where humanity evolved from, into an air-breathing critter.
Mm-hmm.
It goes from being a fish, having gills, breathing water, into breathing air, all in its own life, which is what we do. Right? We come essentially from a fish. When you look at us as a little sperm, a tadpole, and we grow in water, we breathe water, and then when we come out, we breathe air.
Yeah, essentially that. Yeah, I mean, I see the connection you're making.
So when we look at just the whole structure of our universe and how the solar system and all of this stuff works, we see the design in our own selves, in life in itself, right? It just keeps reproducing itself in every. It's like a structure, it's like a formula that God created, and he placed it in every living thing, where it just recreates itself over and over again. And I think that's essentially what we are. So who cares if the friggin' world is flat, round? Who cares? It doesn't even matter. It don't matter.
No, I mean, I could give a fuck less because then it doesn't change anything in my day, right? It
Nothing.
doesn't change the fact that I have to get up and go to work. Doesn't change the fact that I have a daughter. Doesn't change the fact that of how my car drives to get me to and from anywhere. You know, what I mean? Nothing changes other than the fact that, oh, okay, it's whatever. Sure. Then so I don't need to go. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter at that point, right? Because
At
your
all.
life and your responsibilities and your existence isn't doesn't have anything to do with that.
Nothing. Only your choices. Only your thoughts and the energy that your thoughts produce is what affects everything.
And I think we're the only species on this planet that can manifest things, right? Most of the time when we start really thinking about something and wanting to do it, we can ideate, we can envision, we can see, and then we can execute, and then we can manifest. It becomes, right? Now, I'm sure other things can do the same thing. Like, I mean, if a buffalo decides they want to have water and they go to the water, you know, that's sort of the
Well,
same thing.
I think that's what separates us, right? I think that's what separates us from animals is we have the abilities to be conscious beings and we have the abilities to be animal beings. And I think that's what separates us from the animal kingdom is the thought process because animals don't have the ability to think like we do, right?
Well, we
So an
think.
animal, huh?
I said, well, we think or we're
Well,
told.
we can we can pretty much gauge that because if you've had any interaction with any kind of animal, you know that you can easily dupe an animal into doing what you want it to do, right? Sure, a dog knows that you're getting ready to give him a bath because he sees the signs of what you're doing. You're getting this prepared, you're getting this prepared. It's the repetition that you do every time that you give this dog a bath. So they recognize those signs and they're like, uh-oh, it's bath time.
Mhm.
But you can easily trick that dog into the bath by getting a ball and throwing it into the bathtub. And the dog recognizes ball as playtime and he reacts to that because the dog loves to play. So now he jumps in the bathtub. But if the dog was able to think, he would say, "No, bitch, you trying to trick me into this bathtub. I know what you're trying to do."
Uh,
So I think that's what elevates us past the animal kingdom. However, we can digress into that by not utilizing that thought process. We become reactive human beings. We react the same way as animals do. When we're hungry, we get up and we eat. When we're thirsty, we get up and drink. When we're told what to do, we become in a reactive state versus a thoughtful state.
mm,
And going back to what you said before, which you were absolutely 100, 1,000, 1,000,000% when it comes to the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is the creation. That is the hormone that your body produces that creates that manifestation, that brings that thought into fruition. And this is why they've been trying to eradicate that pineal gland. And over time, the studies show that our pineal gland has been greatly reduced. It's been shrinking because we haven't been utilizing it. They've been stripping us of our critical thought
mm. Critical thought and creativity.
and creativity.
And I was telling somebody this earlier this week as we were talking about Chat GPT and how this person thought it was the most amazing thing. And I agree, it is a good tool. But if you're allowing Chat GPT to create your titles and to create your stuff for your podcast or whatever it is that you're creating, or your kids are using it to help jumpstart, whatever it is that they're trying to write, at some point you're going to atrophy your brain
Hmm.
and limit your creativity, and when you have this dependence on something that helps to jumpstart your creativity. So now you're going to not be able to the more that we rely on this, you're not going to be able to elevate your creativity without jump starting it first with the chat GPT to get it going. Oh, okay. Oh, now I got some ideas. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to create those ideas on your own because that part of your brain is going to be atrophied.
Right. For any of my listeners out there, any of our listeners, you want to know what it feels like to vitalize your brain, for your brain to be awake and to really start processing things, and how much your brain loves to do it. For you to experience this, go do something with your offhand. Whatever your dominant hand is, do something critical with your offhand. Try to write, try to brush your teeth, try to do something with your foot. Try to grab, your toothbrush. Try to do something with anything other than what your brain has now programmed and put into what is that? Auto drive, autopilot, muscle memory. And you will feel the sensations coming from your brain as it's trying to process
Hey,
this this thing, whatever it is. Like last night I went and ate, and of course had a horrible dinner. But in that, I'm not very skilled with chopsticks. I can use them here and there, but I'm not very skilled with it. But in order to try to use these chopsticks, my brain is working, you know. And so it's feel that, people. Feel that and understand that it will exhaust you. You'll be tired from this exercise, because that is your brain telling you that just like you going to the gym and working out for the first time in 6 months and your muscles get tired. This is where dementia sits in. This is where they call, Lou Gehrig's disease and all of this, because your brain atrophies so much from lack of stimulation.
that makes sense. Yeah, that's why you ever see old people always play crossword puzzles,
Mm-hmm.
and that's to keep their mind active and thinking about things instead of like what my grandfather was doing, which he did some cross puzzles too, but I mean, he spent more time on his lazy boy than he did anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Watching shows, watching TV. And I see it
HBO
like,
was his thing.
yeah, HBO back in the day. But same with my mother. My mother she's gotten so far into autopilot that any kind of thought process out of that frustrates her within seconds, and she just won't even attempt it, because it's too grueling to think outside of what you already know inside of your brain. You're stepping way out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, my mom's fallen into this. Her weeks revolve around her doctor's appointments, or I got to go get my cortisone shot, my yearly cortisone shot. Oh, I got to go get my tetanus shot, and I got to get this shot,
Mhm.
and I got to do that shot, and I got to do this. And I'm like, damn, just don't get no more of them other shots. All right. I
Yeah.
mean, you can do whatever that you've been doing, and those aren't very good for you either. Nothing that these people push out aren't very good. But I mean, if you're gonna have to do it, and you're planning your days around this, and it's kind of sad that older folks, seniors, that's like what they look forward to, is that's their outings, is doctor's appointments.
No, not me, man. I'm getting to the point, Sean, where I don't even want to go to a doctor ever again. I have no insurance. I have no doctors. I don't go see none of these people and have them tell me what the hell's wrong with me and all this crap. Listen, if I get anything, or when it's my time to go, I go. When I don't wake up, I don't wake up. If I die a horrible death, that's just how it is, man. If it's tomorrow, then it's tomorrow, man. And that's just where I'm getting to. all of this fight for survival to live as long as I possibly can under socialistic we're under a socialistic government paying their taxes so they can squeeze everything that they can out of me for what?
Mm. No,
I'd
that's
rather
true.
just enjoy my life, get up each day, be my best self, live in that day as it's my greatest day until it isn't anymore. I'd rather just do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that too. I would love to move back to a more simpler time where we barter for things, you know what I mean? Goods and services and stuff like that. And, you barter whatever. Like when I was in prison, I cut hair. That was my hustle. And
Mhm.
I had a pay number doing it in a barber shop too. And that's something that's, going to be needed at some point if things go back to a smaller sort of situation where we're more community based, right? And you're trading your services with your immediate community. Like, let's say I could cut your hair and give me some preserved tomato sauce that you made, you know what I mean? And I'll give you
Absolutely.
back the jars when so you can continue doing it. Cooperating with each other, and to survive. We've gone really far away from that to the point where you could be in an apartment building and not know your own people on the other side of the wall of you.
Mhm. All you know is
That's
that they're loud. That's it.
Yeah, that's how disconnected we are from each other.
And this is by design, though. That's the thing. This is by design, and we have to understand that, and we have to fight against that. That's the whole thing. It's all an illusion. That's the whole point. It's all an illusion, and it's built upon your thought process as to believing in it. They
Did
make you
you
believe
Go ahead?
they make you believe that you got to get up and go to work and pay these taxes to survive. You don't. You just got to grow your own food, know your neighbor, know what you can get to survive from these people around you, and live your life. That's all you really got to do.
Yeah, I mean, my life. I mean, I bitch about having to jump on the hamster wheel and expend RPMs, right? The more RPMs that we put out on that wheel, the more money that we get, which in
Mhm.
turn pays the taxes that are unconstitutional to begin with, because we're not being represented by these folks. So
Mhm.
it's taxation without representation, which is unconstitutional. But we keep doing it because it's just such a system now that it's like, it's a part of the system, and it's made to seem like, oh, well, this is just your duty, right, to have all these other things. But really, it wouldn't take that much if you were to do the numbers yourself and what it would take. It wouldn't take what they're taking. The money
No,
the amount of money that they're having to
no, and I sent you a video. I sent you 2 videos. I sent you a Charles Manson one, right? Because going back into the question as to who you would want to interview, my answer was Charles Manson. But the other one was going over this banking thing. What's his name for JP Morgan was being questioned by Congress, and this lady broke down a bank teller, I believe, that worked for JP Morgan Chase Bank, making $16.50 cents an hour, and one child, how each month she goes into the negative because of all of the expenses that are put on us, right? So no matter what we're making, no matter what that salary is, you're only getting a fraction, a small percentage of your life's work, your energy, when you're working for somebody else, and they're reaping the benefits of that. This is why they want us to live longer. This is why they've gotten us to believe that, yeah, this is a system that we live in, but if you work hard, you'll get ahead. But you don't find out that's a lie until you're 50 years old.
I'm trying to pull up my TikTok on my computer so we can play those clips or those videos that you're talking about. But I can't remember what my
Yeah, but the Charles Manson thing, that was a deep cat, man. And he came through a time where mental health was not only recognized, but it wasn't even understood. It was criticized and labeled as criminal, insane, and locked away in prison. Charles Manson had some severe mental health issues, but he was a very articulate man and deep in consciousness.
he was a part of those LSD studies, right? Jolly
No.
West. So he
Mm-mm.
was Jolly West, and Joe Rogan talks about it quite a bit. He is he was doing experimentations with LSD back in the day, where there was a place that they were all hanging out down in LA. I think maybe Topanga Canyon or some area down there where all the hippies and all, the Doors guy, Jim Morrison was
Morrison.
hanging out down
Mhm.
there. All those folks were hanging out down there around that time. And so, yeah, he was one of them. And he was actually being studied while he was in prison. And then he had I want to say he was almost like an informant when he was out, because they were in contact with him outside of that as well.
Mm.
And when he'd get arrested, he'd get let out really fast.
Hmm.
So it was almost like there was something going on there. Not sure what, though.
Yeah, if you get arrested and you get let out really fast, and that happens on multiple occasions, you're definitely in cahoots.
Yeah. Am I freezing up on the live stream? It seems like I
On
am a little
TikTok,
bit.
no.
No, on the other one that we're on, the computer one, the StreamYard.
YouTube, no.
All right. It seems like it's going a little slow over there. So yeah, I can't figure out what my because I don't log in with this laptop on TikTok. I log in on my other one. So it's pulling up a different account, not my normal account. Log in with email. So let's go.
We're getting ready to go on hour number 2. I'm gonna take me a 5-minute recess
Yeah, I'm gonna do that too. I have
and
to
go
use the
get
bathroom.
re-elevated. Finish this off with some more good topics here, coast to coast. Elevated coffee talk on the Saturday morning. I hope that you guys are enjoying our general opinionated conversations that we're having about events that has happened here in America. We're live on YouTube, live on TikTok. It's Sean Dustin and Nowhere to Go But Up, and the Thomas Freemy TV and podcast show. You can join us here Saturday mornings, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., roughly in between there. And yeah, I will be back.
And I have to use the restroom, so let's throw a little bit of music, some music that's not what's it called? It's royalty-free music. So it's one of the songs that I used to use when I was trying to figure out what my intro and outro should be before I got a professional one done. This was one of the songs that I had chosen for it. So I'm going to be right back, but I will leave you with this song for the moment. Go figure. I can't find any rolling papers when I want one.
It's from the bong. Fuck them rolling papers, man.
Hmm?
It's from the bong, man. Fuck them rolling papers, man. Good morning,
Yeah,
everybody.
that's what I'm getting ready to do.
Saturday morning, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna get ready to do right now. I'm gonna go grab that.
So this is Saturday morning elevated coffee talk for those that are just now joining us. Thank you here on TikTok. 3,000 likes. The people just come in, like a little bit. I've been doing some likings and then they leave. So we have a general discussion talk every Saturday morning. Hit or miss. We've been going consistently the past couple weeks, but some Saturday mornings, we may not be. It just depends, man. We just do as we do, man, and we talk about what's going on through the week, and we just two guys who's been through a lot, different experiences, and we just share those, man. So welcome. Thank you for joining in.
Yep, if you're watching. If even if Thomas can't, I'll usually throw something together, at least some, put together some clips of things I've been looking at, which I still have some things I want to do. There, I watched this thing on YouTube, and it's a creator that I just found, and his take and his information on Ukraine and Russia and China and all the stuff that's going on over there, and the things that aren't being reported on is pretty scary, man. Like how close we are. But then again, you're listening to what other people and fomented fear and all
That's
this
right.
other stuff. But I mean, if you look at how we were, right? War, when we're in economic hard times, we would get out of them by war, right? Creating war. And that's where China's at. China's basically has swapped with us. Now they're up and rising superpower, and a lot of the things that they're doing, they're taken from our playbook, right? Like going and giving countries all this stuff to get them indebted to you, to now you can put bases and everything else onto their land because now you owe them and you can't pay them. So this is what you're going to do for us. They're doing the same thing in their regions, right, that they're close to. And so they're teaming up with Russia, and they've got BRICS, which is Brazil. Like all of these folks are lining up or the countries are lining up to join BRICS. So it's like it's almost like we're swapping spots, which is fine. Which is fine, right? It's fine if that's you want to make them the superpower, and we've been out causing and disturbing shit for how many years now and pissing people off. And if they were to launch a strike, let's just say, right, a missile strike on the US, where they're going to go for and where they're the closest to is the West Coast. And San Francisco Bay Area is going to be one of those targets, just because of all of the bioweapons labs that they have popping up and already existing. So it's going to be one of those places. So I don't know, man. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
You think Putin would take out San Francisco because of the large LGBTQ population out there.
Maybe.
You know, he
Uh,
don't like that. He don't like that population.
no, he might. You know, that's a good one. San Diego's another good one. You know, there's tons of Lockheed Martin is here. So all of our defense, all of
This
the
is
major things that we need, that we rely on in our economy and our security and everything else, I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of it is in this fucking area.
listen, this is what I say about this stuff, man. Who generates more money in the world than America? We the people. Who generates more money than we do? These people aren't going to nuke us. We're the slave ship. We're the engine for the world. We send our money to everywhere. The only reason why these other countries get mad at us is because we're not sending them money, or we put, tariffs on them, or however. But the banking system is failing all over the world. That's the bigger concern. This world war shit is just to take you from the fact that these banks are collapsing all over the world.
That's true too. But all of it can be true at the same time.
Well, okay, but how about this? How about we're the terrorists, and the world is now starting to come together to put a stop to us. And here under the umbrella of America, we're told how great we are, and the rest of the world is terrorists. So it allows us to work and produce our terrorism and fund our terrorism on the rest of the world.
Well, it falls into that to what you're saying. Look at the opposite. Whenever our government or our media is trying to convince you of something, look at what's opposite of that, and usually it's true. We've been outsourcing all kinds of bad things, from
Yeah.
labor to other countries that's cheaper. And I think that's the direction that China's actually going in. Is they're going to start, they're moving everything just like we did. We
Mm.
we
Good
outsourced.
golly.
Whoo, shit. We we outsourced our labor, right? Our expensive labor, because it got too expensive to make stuff here because of unions, and a fair wage seems to be a bad thing, right? And so they don't want that. They want to outsource that labor to China, which we were a middle class and we were consumers, and China was the cheap labor that was able to afford us all of these luxuries and things that made our lives easier, even even though China makes cheap products that are a lot of times toxic in some ways. But now, since we're the middle class is being basically decimated, right? They're taking away the middle class, so there's only going to be the ruling class and then the serving class. We're no longer going to be consumers, right? And so you see China making the same plays that we did over in Africa and some of those areas, and they're taking the place. So they're swapping, right? So now Africa is going to be the labor for cheap goods, and all of the prospering that they did off of our consuming, right? China, they're going to be doing the exact same thing with Africa now. So they're going to get cheap labor from there. Their people are going to be able to, spend that money and consume those goods, which is going to bring those people up from poverty, but still they're still going to be controlled. And it's a third world country too. And you have dictators over there. You have tribal stuff, right? So you have tribal leaders and different things that are going on over there. I mean, you still got slaves. Slavery is still happening there.
Oh, of course it is.
The cotton trade, the cobalt trade, all of that stuff in Africa is all being mined, forced mining.
Well, this is what people have to understand, man. When they when we talk about rich people, you have to understand, in order to have a Bezos, in order to have a Buffett and Elon Musk or any of these people, you have to have slaves. That's the bottom line. When the rich class is supported by the poor class's work, right? They are benefiting off the slave of the poor class. This is so if you have rich and poor, you have slavery. That's just the bottom line. So you have to sit down. It's like in that movie Rounders with Matt Damon and them,
That's a
right?
good movie.
Okay. What did Matt Damon say when he sat down? These were his gambling tips. He said, when you sit down at the table, the first thing that you do is you look around the table and you spot who the duck is. And if you don't recognize the duck at that table, then you're the duck. So you have to apply that analogy to every aspect of your life. You know, when you're sitting here and you're working 60 to 80 hours a week, and you think that by logging these long hours at this low wage, that eventually you'll be able to move up. You're not going to. And if you do move up, it's only the illusion to keep you continuing to work hard. Just because you get a raise don't mean that you feel it at the end, right? Because you've been
Especially when
indoctrinated.
inflation.
Well, inflation or the indoctrination that of keeping up with the Joneses. So just because you get a raise, they know that by giving you this dollar raise, you're then going to spend 80 cents of that raise on what they've been marketing towards you anyhow.
You
This
get a
goes into
yeah. I mean, I see that in the trades all the time.
absolutely. So this goes into the whole concept of what California is getting ready to do with reparations. They know that they're going to give a bunch of people who are ignorant with money handling to begin with a bunch of money, and what are they going to do with 80% of that money? They're going to give it right back to them. But now you can't say anything. We gave you reparations.
And now that money has been laundered.
That's absolutely, now it's been laundered and it's been written off, and the taxpayers paying 3 times on that, even though that they say that they're not.
It's all it is a funnel. It's a sales funnel in a it's a reverse funnel, right? Because they're funneling funds to themselves through manipulating you, the person, through the marketing that they'd set up prior. So it's already inlaid in your subconscious, right? That these are the things that you want. Oh my God, I want that car. I want that thing. I want that Gucci this. I want that. I want this. I want that. I want the bling. I want the thing. And they already know that. So that's preset into your brain. And so now when they give you that money, they know where it's going to go. Therefore, the funnel, right? It's funneling that cash right back into their accounts so they can now steal it from them without them really knowing. And the best way you can steal from somebody is you steal directly from them and they leave you smiling. Not even knowing that you've been hustled.
Because what can you really buy with that money, especially out in California? What? Can you buy land out there? No, you can't buy no land. Not in no California. You're not buying no land. You need millions and millions and millions of dollars to buy any kind of sufficient amount of land out in California. Right? Am I correct?
Yeah, there's it's everything's really expensive here.
So you're getting this money. What can you really do with this money other than spend it on nice cars, rims, have some nice jewelry, go out and buy clothes, things of this nature?
And we already see what and not to pick on this group of people, but we've already seen how they handle money, right? All you got to do is look at where are they now at some of these athletes that came from these groups, these communities, and how they squandered their fortunes, right? And then the people that they had around them, were helping them to squander their fortunes, right? And became dependent on these folks. I've listened to a few of them where, you know, they're what do they call it? Their entourage. They have to pay these people. They're on payroll. A lot of them hanging out, right? You know, and they're paying the cell phone bills of like 10 people and all this stuff, right? Just to have these people around you who you think you can trust and you think that'll have your back. Well, when that money's gone, you think these people are still going to be there?
Well, that's exactly it, and that goes into a lot of what my podcast and my message is about, is how we in the poor community are marketed to in that aspect, you know, and that's exactly it. Anybody that has ignorance of money is going to spend money and not appreciate the value of what goes into it, and that's exactly what happens with our sports guys. So ever since we're a kid and we've shown outstanding talent in everything that we've done, we're completely marketed to go into the NFL or whatever particular sport that we're showing this talent in, right? And we go through life starving, putting in all this work on good faith, right? Starving, being told by all of our family members, because this is their way out of impoverishment as well. This is what we're being taught as a kid. That he's going to get the family out of poverty. Boy, he's going to make it to the NFL and get us all houses and all of this stuff. All expectations for the whole family is going into this child. Now, this child gets all the way through college, broke, because colleges don't pay these kids anything. But now the colleges are making billions off these kids with the expectations that these kids have to have some sort of morality to them, right? Some sort of integrity. You can't make no money off your talent, but the school can. And now you finally make it into the NFL after, let's just say, a good solid 10 years, a whole decade of every day dedicating yourself to this sport. You finally make it into the NFL, and overnight you're dumped millions of dollars. You go to sleep, you wake up, and you have, let's say, $5 million in your account now. Everybody that's been around you, now all of a sudden, your whole circle, you got 100 people around you. You see how these drafts go, right? You got the whole family sitting in the house with you, got 30 people in there. All 30 of those people are waiting on a check. That's what they're cheering about.
You're right. You're like, we won.
We won, baby. We made it to the NFL.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. And these people, these designers of this program know this, just like Sean was just saying. They know that when they cut them this check, that money's coming right back to them. They're contracted into it. You're contracted into it. These kids are signing blood contracts with these corporations and not even understanding what they are. Because, yeah, like, again, to your point, Jamarcus Russell, his uncle was his manager, right? So, and now he's broke. He signed a $60 million deal. His uncle was his manager, and now he's broke.
Nothing could go wrong with that.
Working as a delivery person, I believe, or something like that.
And if you don't think that the money, like, well, how could the money go back to, you know what I mean, in all these instances? Well, just look at places like BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street, which are these investment houses that almost everything we touch are controlled by those investment houses and the people that run those, which are the 16th of a 16th of a percent of the 1%. Because the 1% is not who runs this country or who runs the world. It is not the 1%. It is a smaller sliver of that 1%, the billionaire class, right? The millionaires, people like the 100 millions, to them is like they're peasants too. You know what I mean? They're not on the same level as a billionaire. You're a super billionaire. And who's to say that we even know who the richest person in the world is? They say it's Elon Musk, but I mean, is that really? I would think that the richest person in the world, I wouldn't want anybody to know if I was the richest person in the world.
Well, no, that's just a legality. Again, that's like the American president. You have to have somebody to say that this is the person for the legal front of it. But no, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about George Bush, who invaded a whole country, and stole the whole country's wealth, bankrupted a whole country. Where do you think all that gold and stuff went? You think that wasn't that? That's definitely not counted by Forbes. You know,
Nope, it's on a top 500 list.
Lily. Good morning, mommy. Most beautiful woman in the world just joined. But that's the thing is man, we don't know, man. It's all a ploy, it's all a dupe. Who cares? Live your life, enjoy what you want. That's why I say I don't tell people how to live their life. Listen, if you like sweets, eat sweets. All I tell people is just have control over yourself. Have control over your consciousness, have control over your thoughts. Know that you're being programmed so that you can unprogram yourself and live your life like how you want to just live your life. This is your life.
Yep. And whatever you feed in your life is what's going to grow. So
Mm.
if you want to feed fear, fear is going to grow. If you want to feed confidence, then you do the things that's going to instill confidence in you. And one of the things that I've found that's instilled the most confidence in me in a different way is learning how to grow your own food and being self-sustainable and not depending on this centralized controlled mechanism of food production and where you get it from, right? Because where you get it from, if you're not getting it from yourself, you're having to depend on somebody else to get it for you, and they determine how much it's going to cost you. So that's why we find ourselves in this inflationary period where all the banks are starting to fail, because as the interest rates, as we talked about last week, the interest rates are rising. The banks don't have it's costing them more money. And also, too, the bonds that they've all purchased and are sitting on are now worth less money. So their wealth, or their, you know what I mean? That's where they're getting into trouble at. So yeah, I mean, all of that sort of encompassed in the same thing. And it's I don't know, man.
I
Just
don't know what
just
I would do, man, because I'm not prepared for anything. But me, my DNA, my life experience, my survival skills have to revolve around water. I'm in Florida, I'm
Mhm.
in Tampa. I grew up on the water. I know the water. I know how to fish. I know how to swim. I know how to capture shit. So I know that if anything was to happen to where it just came to complete self-sufficiency for survival, I would have to be on the beach somewhere. I have to be around water, set up traps, fishing, build a little community there on the water. I'll be cool with that. I'll build me a little straw hut with some palm trees on a beach. We got some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. I could live
Oh,
on them.
St. Pete's Beach is really nice.
Mm,
You
that's
know what
right.
I'm talking about? It's got
Yes,
all the
sir.
white sand and it's really long. That's where I went right before I went to the airport. I did a podcast right from that beach. I had my hotspot, and then I had
Mm.
my microphone USB'd into my laptop. And there was a gentleman from Ireland that wanted to have me on his show, and I forgot that I'd booked it around that time, and I was like, shit, I gotta find somewhere to do this interview at, because I don't want to, blow the dude off. And so that's where I chose to do. I went and I rented a cabana and did it underneath the little tent there. And I could barely see the screen, but he could see me, and you couldn't hardly hear anything in the background. I could hear the because it was kind of a windy day, but the
Remember
microphone
it.
that I use is was really good for that. The ATR 2100 dynamic mic.
Mhm.
So if you want to, if anybody out there cares about microphones, the difference between a condenser mic and a dynamic mic is a condenser mic you need to use in a sound treated room. So like all the stuff that you'd have, that's a better mic for that because it picks up everything. Now, a dynamic mic you can use in areas where there's a little bit of noise, where you got hums and background noises. It doesn't pick it up as it doesn't pick up as much of it.
Yeah, because you have to speak. So I'm using this. This is a dynamic mic, so I have to speak directly into the mic. And as you see, as I move away from the mic, it gets lower and lower. And then when I come back to the mic, it's back into it. So that is dynamic mic. And then the condenser, like Sean said, is you could hear, depending on the quality of the microphone, a pin drop from across the room,
Or a frog fart.
or a fog fart, a froggy fog.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So that, a little bit of a technical information for you guys out there. And I like that. I like the dynamic mic, and it's fun when you first get it. If you start doing any kind of podcasting or using a microphone, learning how to make your voice sound different, or just playing around with it and seeing,
yeah,
because hearing yourself through a microphone, a good microphone, is way different than like hearing yourself just out normal.
on an answering machine.
Oh, what are those?
Yeah, for real. For real.
Do you know that I had my first run-in with the law and how I got in trouble as a kid has to do with an answering machine.
Oh yeah.
Yep. There was a kid that I was screwing his girlfriend on my summer of my freshman year, going into my freshman year, and I
Mm.
didn't know that she had a boyfriend. And it turns out that he was this little gangbanger guy. And so he called me and he left me a message on my answering machine. Hey man, hey vato, fuck you. I say I'm gonna kill you, and da, 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 da. And so I took that and I took it to school the next day, and I played it with all my friends that could drive, right? Because I'm trying to get people together to drive me over to the school so we can go fight. And we did. And it ended up being like 7 carloads full of dudes, and we fucking mopped this dude in a like a save mat, a little save mart or something. And we were all on camera beating this dude up, and it knocked the cash register off and everything. And it was all because of that tape,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
that answering machine tape.
Mm. The small things. It's the little things that count.
Yeah, the little things in life that we remember that count.
It's the little things that count.
What you got planned for today?
Well, I got to figure out a way to get some of these raffles out, man. Get people to sign up for this raffle. The raffle's tonight. A live stream tonight, my show. And do that. So essentially just work on that and probably get out here and Uber some, man. I gotta make some dang money, man. I gotta make some money.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go do too. I think my mom's gonna come tonight to stay with my daughter so I can go work. It's it should be a pretty easy easy night of work from what I heard the scope is. So it shouldn't be too anything too drastic. But shit, you want to pay me $150 an hour to do it? I'll show up.
Where's that at?
It's at Kaiser. It's at a hospital, so that's why they're doing it at night.
Oh, Kaiser, huh?
Yeah, well, nobody's there. And so, I mean, of course, medical, they're the only ones that can afford to pay that kind of money.
You know what I need to do, man? I need to, because I got contacted. You know, I jumped on that civil suit for the school loans thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The school loans advocacy, because before I went to prison, I actually attended ITT Institute for computer design, computer building, things of that nature, way back in the early 2000s. You know, I was learning about computers, hardware, and stuff. And the ITT kind of duped me into that.
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up quitting, dropping out, and owing all kinds of money. And I never paid it because I always felt like, and I've always been an individual to pay my debt, no question. If I give you my word, I'm gonna give you money for something. Doesn't matter if whatever it is. So if I don't pay you, it's because you duped me, you fucked me over some kind of way, right?
Mhm.
And it was the same with ITT. I never paid them a dime after I quit. And I've always had this outstanding bill for the loans, for all of that. Well, I just got contacted from them a couple weeks ago that all of that, because there was a civil suit, ITT was doing this. A couple other trade schools were doing it to many people,
Mhm.
but I was forgiven for those. And not only was I forgiven, but I'm allowed to recover any amount that I put into it. But
Mm.
this was before I even went to prison. You're talking 20 years ago. I don't
Yeah.
know how to get in contact with these people to even begin, because they don't have my information, of course, but they have my email. They contacted me.
Yeah, you should. Well, there should be a way that you can reach out to them and find that out. I mean, yeah, there was a period in time I remember that where like every commercial was some sort of a DeVry University
Yeah,
or
DeVry was another one. Yeah.
yeah, where all of these, hey, go get, learn how to do this to do that, and never really a lot of people for a lot of folks there was nothing came of it, right? They even went through it and they didn't place anybody anywhere. It didn't really help them at all. It just gave them somewhere to be for a little bit.
Yeah. But other than that, that's probably it, man. Just max and relaxing, man. Trying to stay within my calmness, stay within my home frequency, and not allow anything to take me outside of that, man. I'm just really trying to just be in control of all that stuff and not get involved in this rat race.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good way to go about it. I have to I think this morning what I'm going to do before I have to take a nap for work this evening is I'm way behind on growing stuff around here and even starting my seedlings and everything else for, the tomatoes and all the other stuff that I'm going to grow this season, including the cannabis. I've got those seeds germinating right now. But I have
Mm,
weeds all over the place and I've just let this place grow. Like I look like that house, right? It's a good thing that I
oh,
don't live on a street, like a normal street. I'm in a marina. So
that
there's
house, yeah,
you know what I mean? So I'm not an eyesore to anybody, and anybody around
exactly. You're
here I
bringing
can give a
down my
shit less.
property value, buddy.
Yep. And so I gotta go rent a weed eater, one of them gas ones, those powerful ones, so I can just whack these motherfuckers and be done with it.
Go get you a goat.
Then I gotta clean up goat shit. Yeah, it's just easier. I'll do it with that, and then I'll use the all of the debris, right, and start the compost.
Mm,
And
there
that's
you
also
go.
good for growing too. I'm telling you, man, you guys got to start growing your own stuff, learn how to do it and start. I mean, you can start slow. You can, if you don't have room, and even if you're in an apartment and all you have is your balcony. I mean, there's ways that you can take 5-gallon buckets and stack them and you can grow that way. You know what I mean? Vertical. There's a guy, and I did a interview with a guy who is an urban farmer, and he tells you exactly how to, build this thing. And yeah, I mean, anything that you can grow. And once you get that, and that's what I'm saying about, for kids, once you get that knowledge under your belt, right, of learning how to grow something and taking it from seed to table, right?
Mm,
There's something there that taps into our DNA and what we know from our ancestors that brings that confidence right back. And that confidence to be able to know that and to know that, okay, now I have a survival skill that is useful. That's
mm,
powerful.
no question. And it again, it taps into our creativity. into our pride for self, to know that we can accomplish, like you say, from seed to table, to where you're sitting down, smoking, eating, doing whatever it is that you actually grew. It goes for the same for food. To eat your own food that you knew that you grew, you waited on, you harvested, you talked to, you watered, you loved, and now it produced for you. It's a great feeling, one that many of us don't experience anymore.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
appreciate food that way. I think this is why we throw away the food that we do, because we know that we could throw it away and walk right back into Publix and get more of it.
I'm essentially my own dispensary right now.
Mm.
You know what I mean? With the products that I create just from that plant alone, right? It helps my pain, it helps my, suffering, it makes me a nicer person, all from this one thing that I've learned how to cultivate myself, because I don't want to pay the money that it costs, because it's expensive. Especially if you're getting it from a dispensary, all of these things and the taxes that go along with it. And, those taxes usually don't go to what they're supposed to anyway. So you're just giving the government, your local government, a slush fund to play with
Yeah,
when
no
you're
question.
supporting that. And they don't let offenders into the industry anyway. So I don't want to support that. Do you know? So if you have a dispensary and you're a felon, right, or you've had a drug charge, you can't get a dispensary. You can't have that business.
Yeah, no, I can't. Like, I can't work for any kind of the dispensaries or nothing. I can't drive for them. I can't do none of that.
I don't think that's fair. Especially when these industries are here because of us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then now that you found a way to legalize it and benefit and profit from it, now you've X'd everybody else who helped pave the way for that out of it.
Well, one of the biggest brands out here, I believe, is owned by a guy that went to federal prison for marijuana.
But it's not, he had to go a roundabout way of getting it. And so he figured out how to get investors, and it's probably not in his name.
Well, yeah, he's probably a silent partner. I think he's probably the funds behind it, but yeah, it's who you know and how much money you have.
In order to even just apply for a license for a dispensary, there's a fee associated with it. And I think it's like maybe 10 to 25,000, right? Just to process it and get it into the door. And that's a non-refundable the non-refundable fee. So if it's 25 grand, that's 25 that whether you get accepted or not, you can't have that money back.
That's 25 grand you're taking to Vegas.
you're rolling the dice on one roll.
That's it.
And then you're not guaranteed shit.
Well, this has been another great discussion, man.
Yep. I'm supercharged up, ready to start the day and get it on with. And yeah, we'll I'll be a little bit more prepared next week with some stuff to clips and shit to play. Ow.
Yeah, man. We just go with the flow. It is what it is, man. It's still a good show. We had a great discussion. I hope the people enjoyed it. We had some listeners coming in and off, so thank you guys for that. Again, this is Thomas Freeman. You can visit me at www.cominghomecoalition.com. We have an online raffle going there. The raffle is tonight, so you need to get in there and get signed up. Got 2 free baseball tickets to the Tampa Bay Rays. Your choice of a $50 gift card to Sprouts or a $50 gift card to Publix. And if we can get up to $200 in donations, I have a PS5 game as well, Horizon Forbidden West. I will also throw into the raffle. So you can do that at www.cominghomecoalition.com. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. I am the founder, and we deal with homelessness, addiction, and of course, incarceration, recidivism. I am a life coach mentor, amongst other things. So That's my plug for the day.
All right. And you see that right there on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, there's cominghomecoalition.com where you can find Thomas Freemy and his show and what he's doing and everything about him. For myself, I'm Sean Dustin, and I host the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. And if you want to check that out, just go to SeanDustin.com. And everything that I'm at, all my social media is everywhere that I'm playing will be there at that website. So I guess until next time, or until next weekend, until next Saturday, keep it 100. Stay true to yourself, because everything else is just noise.
Amen. Stay blessed. Continue to be your best self. Peace.
See you, peeps.